Pew, pew.
This is about to be the fastest episode in the world of Unbiased Sports Talk, and I knew your black ass was going to come over here and ruin once I started talking. Nina, get away from me.
Terrible.
Hey, what's good, the host?
It's cracking, my man.
You're like our what's the guy's name on basketball? Adam Jaworski.
Yeah, all right.
You got all the insight.
No, I wish I did.
Right. How you been?
Been all right. Can't complain, man. How about you?
Shit, I can't complain. Shit, my allergies.
Oh, yeah, you over there sniffling.
Yeah, I am complaining. So I ain't shoot. Please, I'm
That
complaining.
time of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I ain't gonna hold you because there's a lot going on and everything. And what's going on right now is NBA basketball. So I ain't gonna hold you. Like I said, just gonna be short, quick. Cause I'm trying to watch the games. Because last night game was very interesting. I was watching the Clippers and the Grizzlies, and prior to that, I knew Kawhi was gonna sit. Of course he gonna sit.
Of course.
And then my man Brody went 5 for 5 from the 3. Dylan Brooks is out there talking crazy. I said, "Oh my God, I don't know what y'all done."
Said Dylan trying to make a name for himself.
Right. So let's go ahead and wrap it back. Let's talk about people who got to try to make the play in. Okay. I mean, I think the East is a sealed deal, correct? Like,
I would say it's a sealed deal, but I mean, I think the East is probably the easiest to talk about and figure out, who has the best chance to win the East as compared to the West. The West is a different story, but East, I think you're right, it's pretty solidified, especially at the top.
Yeah, but then if you look at the West now, going from 4 all the way down to 11 or 12, I believe. They are only what 2 to 3 games apart.
Down low, I would say no. Well, yeah, you're right. About 10. Yeah, 1 through 10. Yeah, you're right. About 2-3 games.
Yeah, about 2-3 games. So all that to be said, who you got falling out the play-in? Because right now, based off this conversation, okay, the Mavericks are out
right now.
Yeah. If the play-in? Okay, who do you vision in a week or two? Right, I think like a week or two. In a week or two, right. Who's not going to be in the play-in?
That's tough. Because once you get past, I would say 6, because I think everybody's 6 and above. Obviously, I think they're going to stay. They might, like, for example, the Warriors that I think are currently in 6th place. They could drop into the play-in depending on how the people at the bottom play and whatnot. But they're going to be in the playoffs, right? I don't see them falling out. But the other 4 left over, the Lakers, Pelicans, I think moved up in there. The Thunder are in there right now, and then Timberwolves.
No, Thunder's out as of right now.
As of right, okay. I ain't even got the latest grades. See how fast it's moving?
This is the question though. Who do you vision is going to be out when in the next week or two?
If I had to pick out of those group of 4 or 5 right there, that's tough. I would probably lean more so to either the Mavs staying out or the Pelicans dropping out. So either it's going to stay like it is and the Mavs stay out of the play-in, or they could make a push, or the Jazz even could make a push, and then if the Pelicans don't play well, they could potentially drop out in these last few games of the season. So I think the Lakers are going, since they got both of their star players, they got no excuse to stay in the play. And the Timberwolves are playing well. You got Troy Edwards balling and all that. So I think they're going to continue to play well and stay in the play-in. And the Thunder have been playing well. They had except for the last game. But over this past few weeks, they've been playing pretty solid. So I expect them to try to keep that energy up and stay in the play-in.
Right.
What you think? Who you think gonna fall out?
I think it just depends because, like, as far as the schedules that I looked at, the Lakers are not cleared yet. They got some people on their schedule that can ruin some things.
Yes, but they're all but I think everybody they're playing is like on the lower half of the standings, right? They're not playing a lot of top seeds, but they're playing people that are fighting to get into or stay in the play-in. So like the Bulls and teams like that.
Yeah,
right?
But I'm just going like, if I like, okay, I'll get back to the Lakers because the Lakers is kind of like a little bit of a long-winded conversation. Let me get with the other people because I think the key thing you said is, star power.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Lakers can get into the play-in or keep their playing spot because of star power, right? When I think about other teams like Utah, who's their star power?
Well, that's why I say I don't. They're not. Or did they move into the play-in right now? Okay, so yeah,
as of right now. But I'm thinking about people who are going to be out. Like if I was to think about people that's going to be out, I think Oklahoma's going to be out, and I would think Utah is going to be out.
Oklahoma and Utah, you got dropped.
Yeah, I got them dropped.
So then that means you got the Mavs in.
I think the Mavs might pull it out. I think so. Just because of the other, it's mainly because of the other teams, not because of them. Unless they just lose the rest of their games. If they just lose the rest of their games, then I'm like, wow. Because honestly, I would be more shocked that the Mavs fall out than the Lakers. And the reason why is, the Lakers have already shown that there's so much injuries going on. People want to take nights off, right? Yeah. So it's like, and even if they're not taking a night off, let's just talk about this, right? I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna treat LeBron with some respect. You feel me? He's battling with something. So I'm gonna give him the respect, right? Okay. Anthony Davis, though, that man has been inconsistent. Yeah. And he shows up in games where it's kind of like a no-brainer. Like, yeah, it's the Bulls. I don't expect too much, you mean? But the other thing that kind of gets me, though, when I watch the Lakers, too, though, is the problem is your team is too based off of star power, where a lot of y'all ball watch.
I think, so that is what I've been trying to watch to see how they integrate LeBron back in. Because I think when LeBron was out, it forced other players to step up, like your boy Austin Reeves was balling. So I think honestly they were playing better defense. They were playing better team ball. So when you have LeBron, who's so ball dominant, come back in, people kind of defer to him because obviously he's one of the greatest players of all time. So it's like, all right, we need to get LeBron the ball, not keep that same mentality you had when he wasn't there and be aggressive and attack. So I think they're trying to figure that out right now. So we'll see how it works. I mean, they just, AD and LeBron combined for what, like 60-something points this last night.
It's the Bulls. But it's the Bulls. It's the Bulls.
It's the Bulls. I get that. But, they fighting for the playoffs in the East. However, I think the team they have now is clearly better pieces that fit AD and LeBron. Because now they actually have shooters. And they have some young guys with some young legs that can get out there and defend. So I think this is a better team overall for them for this run. But it's really all predicated, honestly, on AD. Like you said, AD's been inconsistent. He has to be consistent. He has to be dominant. And again, when he is that way, he's one of the toughest people to play defense against. So he's the X factor, whether or not they're going to make a run in this playoffs if they get in. And he's definitely going to be the key if they even have a chance at winning anything.
Yeah.
In the West or the championship at all.
Yeah, because going back to what I said about going back to the team that I said I was going to be shocked if they do fall out. I would be shocked if the Mavs fell out. Because going back to points, you got two dudes on your team that could give you 60 points together.
True, but I'm not entirely shocked, honestly, because you made this move extremely late in the season. They made the move at the trade deadline, right? So that left people always like, oh, that's halfway through the season. Really, you passed halfway. because you're left with like what 30 games or 25 games, something like that, after the trade deadline. So to try and have such a big superstar, big talent like Kyrie come in and try to integrate with another gigantic star in Luka and another ball dominant guy and figure this out. Everybody thinks it's easy when you got two superstars, it'll be easy to figure out. But as we've seen throughout history, outside of LeBron and KD going to the Warriors, we haven't seen big stars come together and immediately win a championship the first year, right? It usually takes them a second, probably the second year, if they're going to make it, to win a chip or at least compete for a chip. So that's why I'm not entirely surprised, especially when these guys didn't play great defense to begin with before Kyrie, and you gave up one of your best defenders, and you brought in a guy who was okay defender, like he's not stopping anybody. So you didn't help your defense with adding him. You only added more offense. So in the end, when you go into these types of games in the playoffs, you have to be able to get stops at some point. So that's why I really wasn't surprised. I wasn't expecting them to win anything, even if they did get in. Maybe win the first round matchup, possibly depending on who they played. But they weren't winning no chip because you got to have defense to win a chip.
And the other thing is to throw in it too. When that trade went down, I'm like, again, you get a guy who you ultimately are ball watching. You're watching him, and then you got a dude who doesn't do no backdoor, no. Now, let's be clear. Guys make off ball movement, but there's off ball movement, and then there's real off ball movement, right? Like, should I explain?
Go ahead. Let's see what you're talking
about. Let's be real. I don't see Kyrie do no backdoors for layups.
No,
real. To me, that's real off-ball movement.
Kyrie's a shot creator. I mean, he's your epitome of what a shot creator is. Like, so he gets his own shot, and if he can't, he might pass the ball. But yeah, he normally gets the ball, creates his own shot, and that's it. It's not like Curry or Rip Hamilton back in the day where he's running around screens and doing all this extra running. He's not running unless he's got the ball.
Right, but even if you're shown like look what you went from. Now, granted, Detroit was more defensive than when we won their championships and games off of defense a lot. But look at how that movement is beneficial for everybody else on the team, right?
Yeah.
Versus like the movement that he's doing right now, it's not that beneficial.
Yep.
Right, because like I'll be watching the dude Woods, right? He'll catch the ball and then he's like, okay, I guess I pass it over here. Versus when you watch other teams, and it doesn't have to be the Warriors, right? Look at the Kings.
Yeah.
Ball, like they ball movement. You mean I'll even give props to the Grizzlies when Ja's not playing. When John Morant's not playing, ball movement. When LeBron's not playing, ball movement. Like they are really moving. And so when a team's really moving, me as a defender, it's like now the plan changes, because before when you got your star and he's he's just holding the ball, like with guys like James Harden, guys like even Russell. I'm gonna throw a shot at Russell sometimes. I kind of get to settle down the defense. Like, all right, boom, we get to settle down, right? Versus when you got dudes just like, all right, there's no real settle down. Like, okay, these dudes are moving and stuff. So,
I mean, look at historically, the teams that have won have been teams that have ball movement. So everybody, like, for example, let's look at LeBron's career. Look at the teams he's played. Spurs, ball movement. Golden State, ball movement. You know what I'm saying? Some of the best off-ball movement we've seen in history have been from these teams that have been able to negate a superstar player in LeBron from winning chips because of that. Because his teams didn't have that same type of ball movement. Right. They were doing, so based up, get LeBron the ball, top the key, pick and roll. He's either gonna take it in or he's gonna dish it out to an open 3-point. That's why, again, he's always had 3-point shooters around him, so it spaces out the 4 or 5 out, pick and roll, kick the ball out to a 3-pointer. That's basic as basketball. So again, it's hard to defend when you have somebody like a Giannis or LeBron who can bully their way to the basket. But in playoff basketball, when the game slows down, you can't do that all game, which is what we saw with Harden, why it didn't work. They had one of the best teams out there in the Rockets that year when they made the playoff run. But ultimately, they came up against a top-tier defending team and offense in Golden State and couldn't get past them because they had one trick up their sleeve. And they could game plan against that. So, I mean, it's extremely tough for you to win when you don't play team ball to that level in the playoffs.
I'm not gonna lie though, and then we're gonna get to the next topic, and then hopefully we'll wrap up the show. If these dudes do not make the playoffs, the Lakers and the Mavericks, I got a lot to say about LeBron. I got a lot to say about Anthony Davis, and I got a lot to say about Mr. Luka Doncic.
So what would you say if they? So let's say they don't make it. What does that say to you? What does that mean?
I don't want to hear nothing about LeBron's injury. I want to talk about the games he missed when he was clearly healthy because he want to go look at his son.
So do you think that negatively impacts his legacy overall? If they miss the playoffs this year?
No, overall, no. But I do think it starts to open up a conversation about
so how great is he?
Like, how great is he? You know, I think that starts to get to open up and stuff because you're starting to hear people like Martin Chalmers come out, right? He got ragdolled. Now, granted, I think people need to keep this in mind. There's two sides to a coin, right? Like sometimes you got to think about like there is some truth to what someone is saying. Now, it's not as strong, like we know, like the Kobe's and the Jordans and stuff. Right. You feel me? As saying like, "Oh, LeBron's not feared," but then at the same time, I'm like, he's not feared, but he damn sure is loved.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Then Mr. Anthony Davis, you know what I mean? Someone who needs to make up his mind as far as what position you are. Because a lot of times he enters the game, that man clearly wants to be a guard, and he's playing the big position. And he starts whining and bitching about him being down there and stuff.
Yeah, I think AD's problem is I think he's conscious of the fact that he's injury prone. And I think that's why he tends to gravitate outside the paint, because inside the paint is physical, and you think to yourself, the more contact I have, the greater the chances of me getting hurt. But he's at his best when he's in the paint.
Right.
When he's in the paint defending and posting people up, that's when it's the best for him and the team. That's when he puts up his best numbers. Right. So I think it's just mental for him as to why he's so inconsistent and why he tends to float to the 3-point line throughout the season.
I get it. But at the same time, another person sitting games, and I'm talking about games when the season started, when them shit started to add up. And then Mr. Luka, who leads the league in techs, I believe.
Yeah, this year, yeah.
And the last time I checked, when Kyrie
joined, 16?
Yeah, when Kyrie joined the team, that wasn't Kyrie's team prior to you going to the Mavs. Luka, that's your team. So right now they're talking about how since Kyrie has joined, they have fell down. But that's not on Kyrie. That's on Luka. That's your team.
It's fair.
And then again, how you play, how you act has been affecting your team. Jason Kidd was not wrong in the sense of he's dealing with a lot of immaturity. He's pointing towards Luka.
I think the team overall, I mean, when you have a player like
Woods, I forgot.
Right.
Yeah, I forgot. Never mind.
And that's what I'm saying. I think I think it's not just the basketball, but when you have a personality like Kyrie come to your team, along with the scrutiny that comes with him, with the media attention, I think it's a lot for teams, for some players, I say not teams, for some players on the team to try to figure out how they navigate that and how they work. Because again, they got to kind of watch what they say. Like, okay, this is my teammate, so I got to have his back. but they may or may not agree with everything. So it's a delicate thing to play with the media that I think puts subconsciously a lot of stress and tension on some players. And that may be what Luka's trying to figure out and navigate and deal with. But yeah, you get paid millions of dollars to play this game. So I'm with you. I don't have any sympathy for it because, like, bro, it's basketball. It's not that.
I don't want to hear that shit. You know why? I don't want to hear that shit because when it comes to these other players, they be ragdolling them. They be ragdolling Kyrie. They be ragdolling Russell Westbrook. I want to see the same energy for him started. Like, out of the 3 dudes that I named, he needs a lot of energy. You all this, you all that, and everything, and you bitching and complaining.
Yeah, no, I think Luka's to the point now in his career where, like, yeah, all right, it's time for you to step up and take this team to the places that we believe they can go based off of your talent.
And it leads to this. Since we bring up him. It doesn't have to be in order. We don't have to cause no friction off like through the waves and shit. Because I know you're gonna post this later on IG and shit. It's gonna cause some friction and stuff. So we don't have to rank it in order. Who's your 5 that's the hardest to guard right now in the NBA?
In the NBA, top 5 hardest to guard overall. And let me clarify this. I know you're gonna have a question for one of my players. I would also say, when I say hardest to guard, I don't think of just one-on-one, top of the key with the ball, right?
I'm with you.
I'm talking about your ability to impact the game at a high level, and whether you score or your teammates score, you're on the positive end, and it's difficult to stop you from staying positive. So if your team is making positive on the positive side of the house, it's difficult to stop you from being the catalyst as to why that team's in the positive, right? So players I put in that category of extremely hard to guard as a team, and even one-on-one, would be Greek, number 1. That boy's size and
are you ranking them? You're ranking them.
I don't. Oh, you're right. We're not ranking. But I'll just say this.
He's ranking them.
My bad. We're not ranking, but my fault. Greek.
No. It's just funny. No,
I'm just saying it's the first player I'm naming. First player I'm gonna name. Dude is extremely hard to guard, obviously, because you got a 7-footer that can dribble the ball, take 2 steps from the top of the key and be at the basket. Freaking nature. Embiid obviously has been balling this year. Post up, 3 points. He got it all. KD, when healthy, is obviously top 5. There's no arguing that. Can't stop that man. Jokic, if you've been in the running now 3 years for MVP, passing ability, his ability to shoot and score. Not a great defender, but we ain't talking about defending. We talking about his offensive side. I got him up there. And then lastly, right now, I know these last few games have been off his best, but Luka is one of those guys I feel is extremely tough to guard and what he's able to do on the floor.
See,
before you try to cherry pick my shit, let's hear your list first. Let's hear your list.
I ain't gonna cherry pick your shit. I'm gonna chop that damn cherry cheese.
Whatever.
But anyways, let me say about 5. I'm gonna get my 5 out the way. Greek, Embiid, Curry,
okay,
KD, Rondo messed this up. I'm blanking. Jason Tatum.
Okay.
And now, mind you, I was with you when you said your criteria, right? Yeah. But then you lost me when you put Luka in there.
Okay, tell me why.
How's he helping that? How are you helping them dudes out? And now, correction. Actually, take that back. That's a stupid question. That's a stupid question because he's helping.
Like he accounts for over half the offense.
But correction, he's helping them out. Is he helping them out in the way that? Is he doing it more? Is he making more of an impact with his team versus guys like Curry and Tatum?
More than an impact, I think.
Because if you just if you just think about it, right, based on like what you said and everything, right? Now, granted, I'm not too much of a fan of Joker either. So actually, let me jump to Joker, then we jump back, because to me, Joker's easy. Why I don't have him in my top 5. Okay. And I'm kind of good. And this is kind of to our last pod and what Perk said, right?
Which is
how he's going about his numbers. It's kind of like it is kind of really, really obvious that he's, stat pad. You know what I mean? And he's taking nights off too. Because he's
Joker?
Yes. I've seen some games where like he can clearly put foots on necks, but he chooses otherwise. And I feel like when we're talking about hardest to guard, I feel like it's hard for me to name somebody who takes nights off. Because if that's the case, then Anthony Davis should be it. Because I literally seen Joker take nights off.
I mean, all right. I mean, if that's your criteria, I'm not going to argue that.
Right. That's still no knock on him, the fact that he is a hard person to guard. So I'm not telling the world that Joker's not hard to guard. I'm not saying all that.
Right. So I mean, like I said, if we're gonna say one of the criteria is availability and then KD's energy to consistently play consistently on the offensive end, then all right, yeah. I mean, you're gonna drop a few players off.
Right. But, you're right.
Giannis is one of the few people that give you the consistent energy and is available consistently outside of any serious injury.
Right. No, but when I'm thinking about like, okay, you are available, right? Everybody's available, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, okay, like he's cruising tonight. Like, all right, okay. That's why, like, honestly, yeah, like with Anthony Davis, going back to him, he deserves the criticism. You mean like when you out there just popping 15, 14 points and you out there playing 38 minutes, you deserve it. And then when you do it, you do it in games you're supposed to do it in. So yeah, we are going to go at you, especially because of the fact that like the type of talent you are. You're not a Rudy Gobert. You're not a freaking Clint Capella. You're a dude. When we seen you at your best, you're a walking bucket. Because at one point we was having a conversation between him, Boogie Cousins, when Boogie was at the Kings.
Yeah.
And Greek.
Yeah. No, and that's why, like, if you were to get into my next tier of players, AD would be in there. I got Tatum, I got Curry, Dame, Shea. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I got those guys. But the reason. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, all right, cool. I'm sorry, because I wanted to jump back to why.
Right.
I jumped to Joker, and then and again, that's not saying Joker's not hard to guard. It's just for me, I don't like inconsistency when it comes to like scoring and everything. Because I'm like, the guys that we named, they could score. You feel me? And they could do it like on a high clip, right?
Yeah.
When we get to Joker, it's like, yeah, it seems like he gets bored or something. He just takes things off. I really don't like it. So now let's get to Luka. We just talked about how he puts the team in position where they're ball watching.
Yeah.
Right?
They do.
And it's even worse now with Kyrie there. Because now they're really ball watching. Right? Now, again, that's not taking away the fact that he's a bucket. The boy's a bucket. But when we're talking about hard to guard, and not only are you impacting the game yourself, but you're helping other people impact the game, Curry's definitely in it. Curry can now.
Well, see, Curry. So this is my thing, like because you're basically saying, all right, you're picking certain dudes because their teams are winning, right, and other dudes aren't. So, like for example, Luka. Luka's team ain't winning. Curry has an impact that you feel helps his team win, is what you're saying, right?
Yes. That's what makes him hard to guard. Yeah.
I get and Curry is definitely extremely hard to guard because of his movement off the ball and his ability to stretch the floor. right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason I had Luka up there is because of, and if you notice, most of the guys that I picked, it's their physical ability, their size, right? Luka's one of those guys who's a big point guard, and his footwork is impeccable. Like the dude's footwork is crazy.
Okay.
Like, and he moves slow. Like you think you can physically stop him, but somehow he swills by you and lays up, or he gets his teammate a shot, or he does some fadeaway, mid-range shot. So I'm just saying, he's one of those guys. It doesn't matter how you guard him, he's gonna get off a bucket or get a teammate open.
So then why not Dame then?
Because that's why I'm saying, because if you notice the guys I picked, all the guys are physically imposing as well. Not only they're skilled, they're also physically, getting Greek, 7 foot.
Well, that's a great point. No,
KD, 7 foot, unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? So that is part of the reason why I say these guys are unguardable, is because when they're on, you can't guard them. There's nothing you can do at all to stop any of these guys from getting a bucket. Now, when they're off, sure, it's like they self-check themselves, right? Like Jokic, right? He just doesn't play. All right, he's just passing the ball, so he's not getting points, right? But that's one of his strong points, is to pass the ball. So that's why one of those things is, it's not only his ability to score, but his ability to find and get teammates open with his passing and his post-ups. So that's why I say it's not just that one-on-one scoring, or the ability for them, even themselves, to put the ball in the basket, like a Curry, right? Curry, he can get the ball in the basket, it's crazy. Tatum, again, one of those guys. I think the Celtics and Golden State are examples of some of the best teams we have, in their team scheme, and how those two fit within their teams is just perfect, right? But it does. I don't necessarily put them at the top elite tier of unguardable in of themselves, because if you move them off those teams, are they still just super unguardable? Yeah, they're unguardable because they're still some of the top players in the game, but are they as good as they are on their current teams in that current scheme? I don't know necessarily.
So will the passing be another reason why you have Luka over Jason Tatum? Because you made a great point.
Yes. Because that's part of it. Yes.
Okay. All right. Because
so that's something, again. So same thing with, like, say Kawhi Leonard, when he's healthy and he's at top of his game, right? Tough to guard. Dude is super strong, big hands, whatever. But his main focus is to shoot, right? Score the ball. So he's not a major threat on being a playmaker. He's gotten better in the most recent years, like on his last run. He was passing the ball a little bit better, but he's still not like a super duper threat like a Luka right now. He's not on that level.
Right.
He's a true shooting guard, really, is what he is.
Right. No, you're right. Bonus question. Then we really got to get out here. What's the time check? You got a time check? We got 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Wrap it up.
Bonus question. I want to bring something off air. I'm gonna bring it on air. Right. I don't know if you remember this. Remember when I brought up the thing about self-check?
Yeah. So what about self-check? First of all, define what you mean by self-check, so everybody.
Now that we're not texting each other about it?
Huh?
Now that we're not texting each other about it?
Yes.
You're just gonna find ways to eliminate yourself. My definition about self-check is this. Okay, like I use players for example. When Russell's playing with Kawhi and Paul George, he's a self-check.
Why?
Because he's gonna miss open shots. And he's really one-dimensional when it comes to it when those two are around, because he's gonna ram himself in and try to do layups. And he turns over the ball. So that makes you a self-check.
But that's just with Kawhi and Paul George. That's just how Russell plays.
No. I'm saying, because this does not act like football. He don't do this, bro. Don't do this. Don't make me turn.
I'm just asking a question.
He's a different beast when he's by himself versus when. Think about. I think people need to keep some. So let's educate.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a 24-second clock. Most of these pickup guys don't understand that shit makes shit different. Versus you get to do like 7-8 passes in pickup and then shoot. You know, or you get to call your own fouls, recheck the ball, have an argument, all the other BS. Okay, you are not the first option. You are third. You see how it affects Carmelo Anthony, and I can name some other people how it affects them,
Fair
right?
point. Yeah. Right.
So that being said, the way you used to operate your offense when you're number one, it's a complete drop when you go to number one to number three.
Yes.
There's one thing to be 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Someone like Russ has now went from 1, 2, 3. And that can affect your game, especially of your sense of your psychology and your wiring. Like I said before, E, you've been averaging 30 in high school. E, you've been averaging 25 in college. E, your first 5 years of the NBA, you've been averaging 24, right? Now they shift you to Miami with Dwayne Wade and LeBron and Chris Bosh, right? Now you're the third, fourth option. That plays with your psyche. You have,
I got you.
That's why, like I said before, catch and shoot is an art. You got guys who need to put the ball on the floor before they shoot. A lot of dudes can catch and shoot, right? So
self-check. So back to this.
So now another way of self-check, right? Going back to this. If I know your game is predicated off of others, meaning this, right? Like not Luka, but there's some others, right? Well, actually, I'm gonna say because I don't care. I said what I said. I think LeBron's a self-check. I'm gonna say that, right? Until things change. Because the reason why I got him as a self-check is because everybody else stops moving. So now it's like this, right? He gonna do what he gonna do. Everybody else can't. That means you hold on tight to him and make him win the game. Now, when you watch LeBron over years and stuff, not to say that he can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Here, I'm gonna make sure we're clear about this. It's not to say that he can't do it, but the reason why people make these debates about Jordan, about KD, and about Kobe when it comes to them is because they can. Your other guys can have 8 points, E. You're going to win the game because of your mentality and how you're going about your buckets and stuff. So all that to be said, that's my two ways of how I look at look, he's a self-check. Meaning this, LeBron gonna go get 40, but that don't mean that you're gonna ruin the ball game. Okay. Someone else can go get 40, like a Greek. Greek can go get 40, but he gonna win you the game because the way he attacks the game, it makes everybody else life easier. Like it demands the fact that you go after this guy. Because if you don't, he gonna keep going. Versus LeBron's game, it's not like, okay, I'm gonna get this guy. No,
he's not relentless.
Yeah, it's not what you're saying. It's not relentless. That's what I'm saying. Like that's the only thing about
to go in to try on that point to carry it back to an earlier topic where we were talking about LeBron being feared. I think that's what guys are ultimately talking about. And it wasn't Trump. I think it was somebody else. I can't remember who it was, or somebody spoke on this, basically stating that the reason they fear someone like Jordan and Kobe was I knew he was going to come at me all night or at us as a defense. LeBron, I think to your point, what you're getting at, even though he could, he just won't. He'll stop, right? Because he's a more selfless player where he's going to pass the ball off. He's going to take plays off. He's going to relax or whatever. He's not going to keep relentless pressure on your defense all game long where you like, all right, we got to stop this dude or else we're going to lose. So I agree with you on that. I think that's what people think about really is what they're saying when they say, oh, he's not feared because LeBron's going to get his, but I'm not worried because we probably still going to win the game. Whereas if Kobe goes off or Giannis goes off, it's a less likely chance for us to win. And therefore, we need to stop this dude.
Right. And the other game and the other guys,
I got you.
Like the way they just go like, it's like, hold on. We need to get to this guy now because the way he's going about the game and everything, he's affecting the game.
I got you. All right. So what's the question?
Do you still have a problem the way how I said about?
No, I just got to understand your definition.
Okay.
And the lens in which you're looking at this for, because my thinking when I hear self-check is more in the lines of your example with Westbrook, right? Like, I ain't even got to guard that dude. Like, physically, I don't have to guard him. He gonna throw up a brick, right? That's my definition of self-check. But understanding your other point of view and the other side of it, of what you also consider self-check. Okay, now I understand. All right, so go ahead.
All right. Oh no, that's the night. That's the night right there.
That's it. Oh, okay. Yeah,
You
I
know,
don't disagree with that. That makes sense.
That's the night right. That's the night right there. Because honestly, the reason why I brought that back to air and everything, I think it's great when we have a pod, we have an episode like this, we also get to educate versus just talking out the side of our neck. That's why I appreciate Mo. I appreciate Mo. Don't get me wrong though, the boy long-winded, but I appreciate him. You know.
Yeah.
So because like I said before, there's two sides to every coin. You feel me? It's not so driven about just one side and everything. And then when you really get the lens of it and everything, honestly, that's what makes you appreciate the game even more. Because you're just like, you're understanding a little bit more intricate. Like I said before, off ball. You feel me? Everybody's off ball don't have to be Curry's, but it could be Rip Hamilton's.
Right. But see, I would argue that my perspective is Curry's off ball is like Rip Hamilton, just the more advanced version of
it. But see, the thing is though, my only debate about that, or my little argument about that is this. Let me say my argument, not my debate. It's more of my argument, right? Because when people want to do this whole tier thing or the 2000s versus this and everything and this, I have to stay with my argument. I cannot envision Curry going down there and dominating the way he's dominating today's game if Clay's not there. Because Clay's making off-ball movement also. Because when you look at Rip, right? Rip is the only one ripping and running. Imagine if there's two reps. No, two rips, right? And that's why I tell a lot of people this. A lot of times you have to stop thinking so offensively and think defensively, right? When you got us on the floor, we got two of them to deal with us running around. And then Jordan Poole makes shit even worse, right? Because now you got Draymond just. And that goes back to my other point about remember how Draymond was dropping buckets, shooting threes? That shit went downhill when KD got there because the role he became
got less attempts. And so I think, but I don't disagree with you. I think that what Golden State has done is just an evolution of what Rip was doing. So they have two players that can do that, and they've also stretched it, right? Because Rip was doing that inside the 3-point line, like he was getting to go around the little screens and hit middies, as well as he could step out and hit the three, but the game was more focused on twos at the time. But now they've advanced it and now pushed it out to the 3-point line. And the reason why I argue that Curry is the catalyst or the X factor as to why it works so well is because of his range, as well as his ability to catch it. And if it's not there immediately, like a Rip Hamilton, he can put the ball on the floor, do a quick move, and still get the shot off.
Right.
Clay doesn't have the dribbles ability to do what Curry does. He's more of a Rip type where he catches it and shoots immediately. Like that one game where he had, 8 threes or something and no dribbles?
Yep, but hold on though. We've witnessed in the finals though when Clay got hurt and then Curry was on his solo dolo, how they bracket him.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when you're now the only real 3-point threat. But that's why I think that emergence of Poole is a critical thing for them. Because now, if, for example, you don't have Clay, you still got two elite shooters on the floor. So now you still can't key off on him. It's similar to, again, when Harden was by himself. You just key off on him. But once he got Chris Paul there, all right, he had somebody else to take the ball. It relieved some pressure. It was harder to guard them. Same thing when you go back to Rip Hamilton in the Pistons, you had Chauncey Billups. So even though Chauncey wasn't running around like Rip, he could still shoot that three. He could still extend the floor, and he was the point guard that you had to worry about. You couldn't just leave Chauncey. So it's a similar factor. He just wasn't doing the cuts that Rip was doing. But it still extends the floor. So no, I think you're spot on, but I think it's just evolution in that they're just doing that at a higher level than what it was done in the past.
All right, Adam Jaworski. Make sure you drop this on IG. Make sure y'all leave a like and subscribe button. This was actually pretty good. You keep on dropping your knowledge. I like it. I like it a lot.
Hey, sometimes you bring it out, me, man.
Yeah, that's my food, man. All right, fellas.
All right, bro.
Fellas. All right,
Out.
you. See ya.
Next time.
Next time. Oh, I make sure we get to delete the